Welcome to Resumes Part 2. Again, our objective is to determine what makes a good resume. Well, a little more details about what to include under the education portion of your resume. Always list the university, including the location of that university, because many universities have multiple branches, so they'll want to know which branch of the campus you studied at. Include the degree that you're seeking. Include your major and your minor, or any secondary majors or secondary minors, or certificate programs too. Your expected graduation date, and your GPA. Now, notice I say this is optional. In general, we would like to only include a resume if it's 3.0 or higher. Your employer will certainly find out your GPA. They will request transcripts and all that sort of thing. However, we just want to put our best foot forward. So if we have a high GPA, that's an important thing for us to just go ahead and put on there. And if we don't, we'll emphasize some of the other wonderful qualities that we have. Do not list high school unless it's directly applicable to this job. So if you were applying for a job with the National FFA organization, let's say, then your high school experience participating in FFA contests might be important for that job. However, if you were applying for a job with Dow AgriSciences, there would be no reason for you to list your football experience in high school. So you've been in college for a while now. By the time you're applying for real jobs, you have been here for maybe 5 years for some of you taking that victory lap. So you should have developed experiences in the last 4 years that are more relevant to your skills and the things that you can do today. Also list studies abroad. Employers are really excited about international experience. Any specialized training that you have that would be applicable to this job, and any honors. I have a few listed here: Dean's List, scholarships, honor societies. You may not have things that are that specifically honors, but you could list a study abroad experience as an honor. You could list an officer position in an organization on campus or a volunteer organization. Those are all honors as well. Well, references. You have to have references, certainly, before you can apply for any job and create your resume. But what makes a good reference? Well, a good reference is someone who has known you for at least 1 year, preferably for 3 years. A former supervisor is a good idea, colleagues or subordinates, former customers or clients, former professors are also good. Contacts from your work-related associations or volunteer work would work too. Make sure that they know that you've listed them ahead of time. So you might even send them a copy of your resume, a copy of the job description that you're applying for, so they'll have a little more background on what exactly they need to say about you during an interview about you. Also, if you choose to write references available upon request instead of actually having the references, make sure you have them available and ready to go. If you say available upon request, they may email you right away and say, send those to me. So you don't want to have to say, oh, well, wait a minute while I call a few people. You want to have those available and ready to go. Also, be sure that you know what a reference is going to say about you before you list them. In the process of asking them if they would serve as a reference for you, ask if they could provide a good reference for you. Often people will be honest with you. It's uncomfortable for them to say bad things about you also. You might even start with saying something like, if I were to ask you to be a reference for me, what types of things do you think you would say about me? And that would give you an opportunity to see if those are the types of things that you would like for someone to say about you. All right, after you've chosen your references, now it's important to know what to actually include on your resume about your references. Certainly include their full name, their job title, their organization name, and their address, phone number, and email. Also include their relationship to you. Here's an example. We have Mr. Sid Funk, Senior Marketing Specialist at Dow AgriSciences. We have his full address and his telephone number, and we say that he's been our supervisor for 2 years. A few things to consider when designing your resume. Designing is becoming more important in every aspect, and design's getting a little easier with some tools that are embedded in programs that aren't quite as expensive. One thing to consider is font. Make sure it's easy to read. We never want our employer to have to work very hard to get our information. Think about formatting. Keep embellishments to a minimum. Think clean and professional. Use of bullets is great, but be consistent with the use of those bullets. Think the overall visual effect is neat and professional. As always, grammar counts, spelling counts, punctuation counts. Your resume should be perfect. A few overall considerations. Think about conciseness. Only include the essential elements. Clarity. Think about font choice. We never want to use more than 2 fonts in any document. The same for a resume. Think about organization and structure, and always be consistent with those choices you make. Accuracy. Absolutely no errors in your resume. Also think about professionalism. Make it visually appealing with reasonable margins. We don't want to shrink our margins so much that it looks cluttered, but we also don't want to have weird margins, like a 2-inch margin all the way around. That would be a bit much. Think about keeping it neat overall. A few special considerations. If you're printing your resume, remove your hyperlinks. They don't look nice in a printed format. Also consider electronic resumes. These are becoming more and more popular, but you may not know when you need to use them. Well, certainly for this class, as we're an online-only class, we will be requiring electronic resumes. Also when they're specifically asked for. Many times people can put them into a database and manage these more efficiently, so they may be asking for them in that certain format. They may also be asking for you to submit your resume via a box or a form of some kind. In those situations, it's very important for you to go ahead and remove all the formatting from your document and cut and paste it in from Word. If you are printing your resume, use a higher quality paper. White or off-white are an excellent choice. This isn't a time for a Legally Blonde moment with a pink resume that's lightly scented. It worked for her, but it may not work in the real world, so choose white or off-white. All right, let's take a minute to actually fix a resume. Look at this resume I have here. Are there some things that we might want to improve on it based on the things that I've discussed in this lesson and the previous lesson? Well, I would definitely say so. Let's start at the very top. We would like a legible font. This font choice at the top, we can't really even tell if this first initial is an I or a T. Who knows? Maybe it's something completely different. We want all of our information to be legible, but we definitely want our contact information to be legible. So choose fonts that are legible, and again, no more than 2 in the entire resume. The objective statement. This objective statement is a bit general and vague. It doesn't offer anything unique for the hiring manager. Also, they just listed some responsibilities. Really, if we could list skills gained instead of just responsibilities within that job, that would be a little more useful to us. So instead of listing that you trained and you delivered, talk about gaining customer service skills, gaining skills working with a team. Those types of things would be better to list. Also, providing quantitative and qualitative data whenever possible is really important. Use measurable data that really sets you apart. This resume did a decent job of some of those things. They listed some numbers under the amount of team members that they managed, but it would be even better if they could list something like increased membership by 40% over my first year or something like that. Those are real numbers that people can work with. Leave off the personal information. You'll notice at the bottom here they list their hobbies. Well, hobbies are probably not that applicable to the job. There may be cases where a hobby is directly related to the job you're applying for, but in general it's probably not. Instead, it would be better to use this place for listing professional organizations that you're a member of, or maybe publications that you've been a part of, or professional awards that you've won. All right, getting into action. Using action verbs is extremely important in your resume. When you're describing your job responsibilities, think of those in action terms. Write things like maintaining, reviewing, implementing. All of those have action to them. The more varied your action verbs, the more varied it looks like your skills are. Your book does an excellent job of breaking it into an entire table of action verbs. So I suggest consulting the chapter in your book on resumes and reviewing that chart of action verbs as you're drafting your resume. Many times you will have done lots of these action verbs in different ways, and this will just jog your memory and let you think about other ways to describe the things that you've already done. Well, good luck getting into action and writing those action verbs. I'm looking forward to seeing those resumes.